Hi, and welcome to Viewmaster Travels. This time it's a special episode. We're looking at Reel SP9046, Weeki Wachee Springs, Florida. This reel is dated 1949 and really caught my attention when I first found it. It's just pictures of people underwater doing odd things. So when we were traveling around Florida visiting Viewmaster locations, I had to look into this one. Weeki Wachee Springs, and note they made the name two words sometime after the Viewmaster reel was printed. It turns out to be one of the oldest roadside attractions in Florida, where you get to watch living mermaids from an underwater theater. It's right on Route 19 on the way to St. Petersburg, which we were covering as another Viewmaster episode, so we stopped by Weeki Wachee on our way. One thing, usually we're looking at the Viewmaster pictures and comparing them to real life, but all these pictures are just people posing during a show, so doing what I usually do didn't work out here. I'm going to compare them with vintage pictures I found instead. Here's the first one. Feeding the fish. Weeki Wachee is actually a very deep natural spring that turns into a river that flows to the Gulf of Mexico. Florida's got tons of these natural springs, pumping super clear water out from the ground to make lakes and rivers. Apparently, northern Florida is riddled with underground caverns, which fill with rainwater, and when the water reaches the surface, you get these fantastic springs, like Silver Springs, another popular Viewmaster location, and Weeki Wachee, which is the 14th largest spring in the state. The story of the Mermaids actually starts at Silver Springs, and a man named Newt Perry. Newt was an amazing swimmer who'd moved to Florida when he was 14. Living near Silver Springs, he'd walk there to swim every day. As Silver Springs became popular as a tourist attraction, Perry became a bit of an attraction himself. He'd perform underwater stunts like eating a banana, drinking soda, and riding a bike. And he developed a technique to stay under the water by breathing from a pressurized air hose. In 1948, Perry helped develop a new attraction at Weeki Wachee, dedicated entirely to his underwater antics. They built an 18-seat theater under the waterline so people could sit and watch the stunts. Perry hired local women and trained them to swim and do his stunts. He called them Mermaids, and they gave their first show in October of 1948. So the Viewmaster reel I have was published just months after the Mermaid show premiered, and from what I found, Viewmaster really helped promote the park over the years, with updated reels through to the 70s. Here's one of Perry's more popular underwater stunts. The underwater pause that refreshes. Perry got married and moved to Texas in 1950, but he'd trained the Mermaids well and the park grew very successful. In 1959, ABC Television, an early investor in Disneyland, purchased Weeki Wachee, and this began the park's golden age. ABC expanded the theater and added a variety of other attractions to the park. They also changed the underwater stunt show to be musical plays like The Little Mermaid. It's around this time that the Mermaids got their tails. Sparkly mermaid fins were added to the women's costumes in 1962, although an underwater costume tail was used for the movie Mr. Peabody and the Mermaid, which was filmed at the spring while Perry was developing the park back in 1948, so it must have been on their minds since then. It's also during this period that the city of Weeki Wachee was incorporated in 1966, a city of 15 people, intended entirely to help ABC support the mermaid attraction, maybe as a tax deduction or something. ABC heavily promoted the park on television and film, making it the most popular roadside attraction in Florida. A Weeki Wachee Mermaid.
Travel and adventure. For some, it means a trip to Europe, around the world, even to the moon. But for this lovely girl, it's a bus trip to a place that's almost unbelievable. A place where a girl can begin a new career as, of all things, a mermaid.
The behind the scenes of the Mermaid show is really fascinating, and it doesn't seem to have changed much over the years. The women have to swim through this long 60-foot tube to get into the spring, and then they wait in an underwater airlock originally installed by Newt Perry. Then they swim out and breathe occasionally from air hoses positioned around the spring. They have to maintain their buoyancy by controlling the rate they breathe out their air. It takes months of training to learn the basic movements and how to do the underwater stunts. At this time, lots of the women lived in a dorm at the park called the Mermaid Village, so there was quite a sorority atmosphere going on, and all kinds of rules they had to obey. And there weren't a lot of job opportunities for women in the 50s. Working as a mermaid was a fun and prized job. Being a mermaid seemed relatively idyllic, although we'll see later that these golden years wouldn't last forever. The Adagio. We arrived at Weeki Wachee in the morning just as they opened. It's a small park, and we had some time to kill before the mermaid show, so we took the little river cruise to see some of the river first. Then we got in line for the theater and joined a pretty large crowd of people inside. As we were waiting, there were old newsreels playing on the TVs, which really made you realize how long the park and the show had been going. It was the 75th anniversary of the park. We watched a performance of The Little Mermaid. There's music and the swimmers can hear it as well, so they're swimming to the music, and there's a couple cool surprises where the performers come into the theater as well. The show was really fun and everyone enjoyed it, and the kids were fascinated. It's a really unique experience. People who love what they're doing, working really hard to keep a local tradition going and to make it available to everyone. And after the show, we ate lunch at the cafeteria and started to leave. But on the way out, I noticed something very exciting. But first, a satisfying underwater smoke. This little plastic mermaid came from a Moldarama machine, or in this case a Moldamatic. These machines are a lot like Viewmasters were back in the day, a way to get a cool souvenir of your visit. The machine actually creates the plastic figure right in front of you. The two sides of the mold come together and it injects the melted plastic, then pops the molded figure out into a tray. You pick it up and it's hot and has this amazing smell. If you ever got one of these as a kid, I'm sure you know that smell. These machines were invented by J.H. Miller in the 1950s. He wanted to replace broken pieces for his nativity set without having to rebuy the whole set, and he got into the business of making plastic dinosaur and space creature figures using these small injection molding machines he'd patented. That business struggled and went bankrupt, so Miller licensed his patents to the Automated Retailers of America with the idea that they could attach a coin mechanism to the machine and have it vend out the plastic figures to the public. They called these machines Moldarama. They installed test machines at the Seattle World's Fair in 1962, popping out Space Needles and monorails for $0.25, and then a bunch at the New York World's Fair in 1964, making dozens of different figures. They even rebranded some machines to make Disney figures, like this one which is now in the Las Vegas Pinball Hall of Fame. In 1969, ARA stopped making the machines and sold off their inventory to a few separate companies, some of which still run the machines today. Moldarama runs machines in the Chicago area. Moldamatic machines are found in Florida, run by Unique Souvenirs. And all these machines are originally from the 60s. There's a lot of machines still working in the US, and they change out the mold options every now and then, so there's quite a collectible scene around them. Just like Viewmaster reels, it would be hard to collect all of them, so if I see one, I try and get one. But not to get too distracted from our mermaid topic, here's the next picture. Time out for an underwater snack. Weeki Wachee's golden years came to an end with the 60s. In 1969, 2 mermaids were hospitalized after passing out in the underwater airlock, which drew the attention of the International Laborers Union, and the mermaids unionized, looking for better working conditions and pay. And soon after, in 1970, the mermaids went on strike, picketing in front of ABC headquarters in New York, settling after a month. The park struggled through the 70s as more and more tourists opted to visit Disney World and old-school roadside attractions fell out of favor, and ABC sold off the park in the early 80s. By 2003, the park was in serious disrepair, and the local water management district threatened to shut them down if water filtration system repairs weren't made quickly. In a weird turn of events, the park's assistant manager, Robin Anderson, was elected mayor of the city of Weeki Wachee, population 9 at the time, and the new mayor decided to condemn her own water and sewer provider. This caused quite the legal mess, and more importantly, delays. While the lawyers argued, Anderson started a fundraising campaign, Save Our Tails, and managed to bring in enough money to keep the repairs going and the park open, eventually working out a deal to transfer ownership to the state's Department of Environmental Protection, who made Weeki Wachee a state park in 2008. But this caused a major problem. The state of Florida had no job title for mermaid. I'm not sure what form had to be filled out to create that. The park had been saved, but all these legal machinations did catch up with the city of Weeki Wachee, though. In 2020, Governor Ron DeSantis got his revenge and dissolved it. And Robin Anderson, while no longer a mayor, is still head mermaid. She's now the park's general manager. Today, it seems the park's doing well, and in researching this episode, I found many people who look back at the mermaid shows they saw when they were young and say how much they loved them and were inspired by them. I think it's this kind of unique and sincere entertainment that caused the community to come together to save the park, and I think still inspires lots of people today. But that's it for this episode. Thanks for watching.
A circus to delight young and old as it always has and always will. But this circus won't travel. It will stay underwater at Weeki Wachee, Spring of Live Mermaids.